Inclusive classrooms are more than a legal obligation. Inclusion means instruction and assessment are created with a universal design in mind, one that draws from perspectives and ways of understanding beyond white, middle-class, heteronormative, and neurotypical perspectives, and supports students in varied means of acting on and expressing their learning. Critical pedagogy gives us the tools to examine who has access and power, whose stories are represented, and ask, in the words of Terriasso, whose culture has capital. As co-editor of Black Lives Matter at School and liberatory play advocate Denisha Jones elaborates.
If books can be mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors, so too is the curriculum. As a mirror, the curriculum should reflect to each child an image of their authentic self as a learner full of agency and potential. Through the sliding glass door of the curriculum, the child should be invited to delve deep into a history that affirms and honors their ancestors and the lineage they inherited. The window of the curriculum should portray a future where you are welcome to participate through engagement as a citizen who belongs to this community. Educational colonization ensures that the curriculum mirror does not reflect marginalized children. The sliding glass door is filled with lies and historical misrepresentations, and the window to the future is blocked or limited.
Frameworks like critical race theory also provide accessible, common language and a unifying understanding of the relationship of race and power. It empowers collective action against the outcomes of systemic racism and the desire to fracture our understanding and isolate our response. Conscientious viewers will recognize the focused attacks on CRT, culturally relevant pedagogy, and diversity, equity, and inclusion as an unusually self-aware admission that programming rooted in critical frameworks is an inoculation against authoritarian attitudes and the maintenance of education as a hierarchical system of predictably distributed achievement without agency. Educators should be especially resistant to any attempt to disarm this discourse at the intersection of pedagogy and power. As Gloria Ladson-Billings and William Tate ask,
what constitutes student success? How can academic success and cultural success complement each other in settings where student alienation and hostility characterize the school experience? How can pedagogy promote the kind of student success that engages larger social structural issues in a critical way? How do researchers recognize that pedagogy in action? And what are the implications for teacher preparation generated by this pedagogy?
Nearly every nation on Earth has been impacted by a history of colonization. In the United States in particular, we must also contend with the legacy of genocide, slavery, segregation, and inequity built into the foundation of our country. This history manifests today in part through the racialized outcomes of the prison industrial complex and dehumanizing culture of policing imposed on all of our institutions, including school. With nearly 2 million Americans incarcerated at any given moment, the United States has the highest prison population per capita in the entire world. Currently, Black Americans comprise just 13% of the American population, while representing 38% of imprisoned Americans. In a racialized carceral state, the practices and policies of school, from decisions about curriculum and who makes them, to the means of controlling student behavior and meting out discipline, reflect legal and historical prejudices in ways that disproportionately impact marginalized groups. The increased presence of police in schools, for example, has led to the arrest and suspensions of more students in school, part of what we might call the school-to-prison pipeline, and those students impacted by arrests, ticketings, suspensions, and expulsions are far more likely to be from racialized minorities. As policing expands in underserved communities where private and public investment fail to meet their needs, increased policing in schools also puts their children in even closer proximity to the carceral state. As one researcher concluded, this illustrates the potential for school disciplinary involvement to escalate into an arrestable offense.
So then when we talk about discipline, the other hand, right, we have the soft ways of disciplining, and then we also have these more stringent, rigid ways of disciplining and punishing young people through the punitive projects or the punitive policies of suspensions and expulsions, where we see that most of the young people impacted have been Black, Latinx, and Indigenous. So then, we started kind of contending against, these punitive practices, like how dare we suspend these kids? How dare we expel them? How dare we bring in the police to arrest them and punish them, right? That's definite. Yes, stop it. We've also failed to look at the kind of normalized forms of policing that many of us are implicated in doing. That looks like students will tell me they would have gotten in trouble for chewing gum. They would have gotten in trouble and sent out of class. That doesn't get documented. Or a student, will come to school late, and predominantly Black youth, Black girls, will talk about coming to school late because they're actually taking care of their siblings at home because they're living under conditions by which they're under-resourced. So they have to be the second parent. And then they end up getting tardy referrals instead of some compassion beyond the referrals, suspensions, and arrests. They're much more mundane and everyday than we are archiving.